I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. Remember our reporting where we talked about how Rudy Giuliani claimed he couldn't turn over documents in the defamation case filed against him by Freeman and Shay in federal court in Washington, D.C. And Rudy Giuliani said he was in arrears to the electronic discovery vendor that was holding on to his documents in an amount that exceeded $320,000. You remember there was a hearing before the federal judge in Washington, D.C. on May 19th, where she then ordered Rudy Giuliani to provide a statement of financial condition if he couldn't produce discovery, and he claimed that he was too broke. And then Giuliani mysteriously was able to make this payment, and he was no longer in arrears, but then ultimately didn't produce the discovery and continued to be in violation of court orders. Well, how did Rudy Giuliani come up with $320,000? Well, the great detective work by Politico writer Kyle Cheney, who does an incredible job reporting on all things Trump and court, and you should give him a follow. He has a perfect timeline, and the Rudy Giuliani payment of about $320,000, actually technically $340,000, seems like it was paid by Donald Trump's PAC, the Save America PAC, which it has now been reported has spent over $40 million in legal expenses over the past 6 months alone, and over $56 million in legal fees in total. This is the Save America organization that Donald Trump said, oh, if you give money there, it's going to help us stop the steal, and we're going to stop election fraud, and we're going to file all of these lawsuits, and we're going to have an election defense fund, and we're going to expose all these things, which they never did, and they knew they were lying to their supporters and grifting off of the supporters. Well, all that money went to pay not only Donald Trump's legal bills, but also the legal bills of Donald Trump's co-defendants and dozens of witnesses, the lawyers for dozens of witnesses who work at Mar-a-Lago or for the Trump organization in connection with the various criminal cases and criminal investigations into Donald Trump. It's that PAC money that seems paid Rudy Giuliani's tab here. And let's just go through the timeline right here. So step one, this is Kyle Cheney made this great timeline. Step one, as of May 1st, Rudy Giuliani says he can't afford to pay the electronic discovery vendor in the defamation case filed against him by Freeman and Shay Moss. He claims that he's in arrearage of more than $320,000. In fact, he goes to court on May 19th saying, I can't turn over any discovery at all. He even submits a declaration under penalty of perjury stating that he is in arrearage. Here, paragraph 5 is the Giuliani declaration. It says, the Trust Point 1 documents have now been archived. I have endured substantial fees and costs in connection with multiple litigations and investigations, and I can no longer afford to pay Trust Point 1 to keep the documents online. It would cost me over $320,000 to become current on my arrearage with Trust Point 1 and to have access to the documents, as well as costs incurred in searching the documents again for additional files requested by plaintiffs other than the email files. I do not have any funds to pay this amount at this time. Then he goes to court on May 19th. The judge orders, okay, submit under penalty of perjury a statement of financial condition unless you're able to pay. And then on May 30th, Rudy Giuliani tells the court that his arrearage has been cured. And here is the court filing. You'll see May 30th, 2023. You go to the paragraph 5. You see it's highlighted here. And he says, because we have cured the arrearage with Trust Point and the data is in the process of being unarchived, we will be able to answer the question in the next week or so. So now they became, they've cured the arrearage. They've been able to pay Trust Point this $320,000. Well, when you go through the Save America, the Trump PAC financials that they had to report, here you see May 26, Trump PAC pays Trust Point $340,000. Here it is right here. Trust Point 1, there's a payment of May 26, 2023 of $340,047.43. That coincides almost exactly with the Giuliani filing. So it's the amount that Giuliani owed. Just if you look in general, a lot of payments being made to TrustPoint as well for probably archiving other documents subpoenaed by other witnesses. And you can imagine how much money is being spent if Giuliani alone is $340,000. But
if you know me, you know I like to wrap up my day with a tall glass of wine. I'm so excited to introduce you to our next partner, Elia. Elia is a woman-owned, woman-operated wine company run by a member of the Meidas Mighty, Layla Joy Williams. Now, Elia's wine is incredibly flavorful. With a wide variety to choose from reds to whites to whatever you're looking for, Elia has it all. The entire collection is produced in Spain. They pride themselves on a collection that's refreshing, delicious, and yes, flavorful. At an affordable price point, Elia's wine makes for the perfect complement with any dinner, or if you're just lounging around taking the load off a busy workday. Now, I personally tried this wine myself and can without a doubt say that it is incredible. And for whatever reason, if wine isn't your thing, Elia also has an amazing beer collection as well. You can also take pride in knowing that you're shopping with a socially conscious brand, as $1 from each purchase is donated to the Deliver Fund, which is an organization working to circumvent human trafficking. To shop delicious and flavorful wine and beer right now, head to Elia.com and use code TOUCH20 for 20% off your order. That's Elia.com with code TOUCH20 for 20% off your order.
what it looks like happened here, and it's pretty clear that the Trump PAC paid for Giuliani to cure the arrearage with TrustPoint 1. The ultimate irony, we talked about this on the MeidasTouch podcast, is that for all of the money that Donald Trump has spent on legal fees, he keeps on losing over and over again. So even though this payment of $340,000 was made, okay, so Giuliani cured the arrearage, but then the lawyers for Ruby Freeman and Shay called Giuliani out to the court and said, great, he cured the arrearage, but he's not curing the fact that he's not producing the records required of him in this case. And so what did the judge do? Federal Judge Beryl Howell, shortly after Giuliani cured the arrearage, Federal Judge Beryl Howell then sanctioned Rudy Giuliani about $80,000. So Giuliani had to cure the arrearage, which Trump's PAC paid $340,000 for. And then shortly after that, okay, great, you cured the arrearage, but now you're still not turning over the records that you're supposed to produce in the case. That's what you have to do after you cure the arrearage. And Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss's lawyers found multiple instances where Rudy Giuliani was lying about email addresses, which he claimed didn't exist, but actually existed, and all these other documents. They exposed that Giuliani was not turning over the records. So Judge Beryl Howell sanctioned Giuliani about $80,000, as well as said, if you do not comply, you will be held in contempt. So what did Giuliani do? Giuliani then had to file a declaration where he stipulated to liability. So this whole process ended with Giuliani admitting that he committed defamation. And Giuliani made a video and claimed, oh, I didn't commit defamation. I never said I did that. Yeah, you did. You filed a declaration under penalty of perjury in the Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss federal case, stipulating to all of the elements of defamation, that the statements had a defamatory meaning, that they were transmitted to third parties, and that the statements were false. You also stipulated to admitting liability to other causes of action like intentional infliction of emotional distress. It's in your declaration. I've talked about this a ton on the MeidasTouch network, so I'm not going to go into the full declaration again, but that's what Giuliani filed. So then it moves on to the damages phase. Why Giuliani stipulate to liability? Well, because he knew he was going to be found liable anyway. He's cooperating with Special Counsel Jack Smith and gave a proffer agreement to Special Counsel Jack Smith, so he has to tell the truth in both forums. And because he engaged in all this what's called spoliation or destruction of evidence and documents, he knew he was just going to be sanctioned again and held in contempt, or held in contempt. So just to stop the bleeding, he stipulated to liability. Those are just the facts right there. But what's intriguing as you go through this timeline to see the Trump PAC basically paying $340,000 to then eventually lead to Giuliani stipulating to liability. But this raises the broader issue that we've covered here on the MeidasTouch Network, which is this $40 million legal expenditure, $56 million in total for legal expenses. That basically the Trump legal expenses are more than anything it's paying for the campaign itself. And Donald Trump, I think I think it's improper. I mean, we know that Special Counsel Jack Smith is engaged in a criminal investigation of Trump's PAC for money laundering and wire fraud and all these making false statements. I think that's going to become a big part in the Special Counsel Jack Smith indictment. We know all of that is taking place, but this is how Trump is taking his donor money and just spreading it around to all of these MAGA grifters, Giuliani, Alina Habba, this whole crew of grifters. It's disgusting. It's despicable what's going on. But this is yet another example of it. And just think for people who are contributing $5, $10, $20, that the money went to pay Giuliani's arrearage in a defamation lawsuit where Giuliani then stipulated to liability and admitted he engaged in the defamatory statements. And now he's going to get hit with damages. That's what went down. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Wherever you get audio podcasts, subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast and have an excellent day.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.